Hi everybody, it's Chris Frame here and welcome to the P&O Aurora. This is a trip report of my time on board Aurora from a cruise in May of 2019. I was on board as a guest speaker as part of the ship's enrichment program, and we sailed from Southampton to Barcelona on a voyage that actually saw Aurora go well into the Mediterranean on an 18-night cruise. So come on board with me and let's have a look at this fantastic ship. The embarkation process was really simple in Southampton. P&O uses a staged embarkation process whereby when you arrive at the terminal, you already know what time you're supposed to get there and what times you're going to be expected to be checked in and boarding. They do this on a color-coded system and it worked really efficiently. Now, chances are one of the first things you want to do when you get on board is check out your cabin. People often ask me, where do the guest speakers sleep on board the ship? And that really depends on what ship you're traveling on board. On Aurora, on this particular occasion, we had a guest entertainer cabin, which has the interior of a passenger cabin, but it's located within the crew area of the ship. You can see that our cabin had 2 bunks and also portholes, which was a nostalgic touch and reminded me of my days on board QE2, where all of the major cabin categories had portholes, except for, of course, the balcony cabins. But if you're traveling as a passenger, you're probably more interested in what the passenger accommodation looks like, and here is a standard outside cabin on board Aurora. This is a spacious area. It's got plenty of room for 2 people to enjoy any of the cruises that Aurora does, and it has been refreshed during the refit with new carpeting, some updated upholstery, and also a change in the way that the bed linen is put together on the beds. Now here's the inside cabin, a standard inside, and again a little bit smaller than the outside cabin, but still very comfortable. It even has space for a couch as well. And as all cabin categories on board have, it also has access to an ensuite bathroom. And here you can see it has a smallish bathroom, but still plenty of space for you to move around. And there is the vacuum flush toilet system as well. Now, the more fancy cabins on board Aurora, this includes the balcony grade accommodation, and we can see here what it looks like when you're standing at the balcony and looking towards the cabin from the inside of the room, and here's the view from the opposite side when you walk in through the main cabin door. These have slightly different coloured interior decor. They've also got new carpeting, and all the cabins also have access to a minibar. Now, having entered service in 2000, Aurora is by no means the newest member of the P&O Cruises fleet, but she has just had a refurbishment. I will take some time to show you the changes on board the ship, but one of the things you can notice here on the main staircase is on the ground level there's new carpeting, and a lot of the refit work concentrated on refreshing the ship through new carpeting and new upholstery. And that lovely new carpeting is also evident on the F deck level near the reception desk, which is of course where Aurora's purser's office services are offered. Now, it was a pretty busy day in Southampton with the 3 large cruise ships in the port. There was, of course, Aurora and the Sun Princess, as well as the Aida Perla. And so as we departed, we got a great view of the larger Aida ship and also shared some whistle blasts with the various ships in the port. At the same time, at the aft end of Aurora, on the Terrace Pool, there was the Great British Sail Away. Now, day 1 at sea and the weather wasn't great. It is, of course, the Bay of Biscay, and so that's pretty much to be expected. As we were making our way towards the coast of Spain, you did start to notice that the waves were picking up, and this would become a bit of a theme for the voyage until we entered the Mediterranean. One day later, and the ship was safely in the port of Ferrol in Spain. Now, this was a lovely day, beautiful sunny day, and in the sheltered harbour there was no impact from winds or the weather from the Bay of Biscay. And we spent the day at the Naval Museum there, which was a great way to spend that time ashore. Now, the ship set sail in the late afternoon, and again it was pretty sunny and pleasant. However, the following day, the weather situation started to change with high winds, which were originally forecast to be a force 9 and later revised up to a potential force 11. This meant that the ship did experience some movement, but given the conditions, the Aurora was actually performing really well. And here's just a little image of the swimming pool with those waves there. Who needs a wave rider on Royal Caribbean when you have the real thing on the Aurora? So with the ship moving around a little bit and most of the passengers having a late start to their day, I thought it was a good opportunity to take a bit of a walk around the ship and show you some of the changes. Here we are in the ship's main atrium, and this links various decks of the ship and also is the main area for shopping on board. And you can see from this image here how the carpeting has been changed, which really lifts the interior spaces of Aurora. I have a video of Aurora before the refit. I will link it in the description below, and you can have a look at that to compare how this area looks before and after the refit. Now I'm standing on the top deck of the Atrium and looking back down gives a good perspective of this space with that beautiful waterfall feature there as well. And despite the fact that the ship was going through some relatively rough seas, the water feature was kept on. You can see there the carpeting at the bottom. Now, one of the most popular places on board is the Raffles Bar, which serves Costa coffee and delicious artisan cakes. And you can see here this place has been refreshed, and they've got these lovely neon lights working once again, and they look really spectacular. The seating area hugs the atrium well, and there are staff who come and take orders from the tables. And so it's a really pleasant place and pretty popular on board the ship. Just off the Raffles and again near the Atrium is the Sindhu, which is Aurora's extra tariff restaurant, and it specialises in Indian cuisine. There's also a really nice wine selection here. This area is quite popular as well, and you're encouraged to make an advance booking, although I did see some people just doing walk-ins during this voyage. It has large picture windows as well, so during the day there's lots of natural light coming in. Walking through just aft of the Raffles is the entrance to the Playhouse, and the Playhouse is Aurora's dedicated cinema. This area has also been refreshed and the projectors have been updated. Now inside they have made a subtle but important change to this area because the projector screen has been updated and therefore it presents better than it did before. Nearby there's Vanderbilt's, which is the ship's card room, and again it's been treated to reupholstery and new carpeting. Now, if you're looking to be pampered on board Aurora, her refreshed spa will be of interest to you. There's lounges inside the spa, there are treatment rooms, there's a sauna, which was very hot, and there's also the usual beautician and hairdressing services that you would expect to find on a cruise ship. And then we have the ship's gym, or better known on board as weights and measures. Now the ship has a really well equipped gym. It has a great deal of different equipment pieces there that you can choose from, and also 2 rowing machines, which is good because that's my favourite piece of equipment to use. If you walk down the corridors of Aurora, you can see that the carpeting has also been refreshed in the corridors, and it brightens the area, lifts it and gives it a more modern appearance. One of the things that they haven't changed, however, is the carpeting on the lobbies, and this still remains the same, that older style carpeting, which goes quite well with the granite surrounds around the elevators, but does clash a little bit with the Aurora's new interior decor. Let me know what you think of Aurora's carpeting selections in the comments below. The following day, due to the heavy winds, we actually missed our port of Cadiz, and the ship stayed at sea, making its way towards the Straits of Gibraltar and into the safety of the Mediterranean. This is a view of the Riviera Pool from the ship's gym, and as the ship was making its way through the Bay of Biscay, you can see the force of the movement of the ship was making the swimming pool overflow into the little basin area that they've got there. And then this is a footage from our cabin, looking out the cabin window, and just after this footage was taken, the cabin attendant came to our cabin and actually closed the deadbolts over our window. So they were obviously expecting some pretty heavy weather conditions, but despite that, Aurora handled it well. Now later that day we passed through the Straits of Gibraltar and entered the Mediterranean, and instantly you can feel a difference when the ship goes into the Med with much calmer seas. As we pass by the Jude's ice cream shop, you can really tell that the ship has calmed down a lot. There's not that much movement, and in fact, remarkably, although that Force 11 didn't materialize, the Aurora actually handled it really well, and you wouldn't have noticed that she was in such heavy winds. I think it got up to Force 9 during the voyage. So this is a look at the crystal pool, and it has a magradome or sky dome over the top, which helps protect it from the weather. On nice days that is opened up, of course, and you can do some sunbathing there. And this is just an image of how calm the weather is in the Mediterranean. Beautiful sunset as we made our way towards our next port of call, which was Barcelona. So let the tour continue, and this is the Crow's Nest Bar, which is situated on the top deck of the ship on top of the bridge. It's at the forward end of the vessel with forward-facing views, and it's a fantastic place to have a drink at any time of day, particularly in the evenings, however, when they also have live entertainment. There are also some wonderful models, including this one of the Strathneva, and some historical paintings as well. For a maritime history enthusiast like myself, it's really nice to see that. Just off the Crow's Nest on the port side of the ship, there is the library, and it's stocked with quite a few different types of books, different titles and genres, and is a pretty comfortable place to sit down with a book and have a read. It also has a small computer section in it as well, where you can surf the internet. Back in the crystal pool, and this is how it looks during the day, but on the upper level there's also seating areas. This is looking down at the swimming pool, and you can see again just how calm the waters are now that we're in the Med. Now the Aurora has a variety of different dining options, and one such option is the Horizon restaurant, which is the ship's buffet restaurant. And here is how it is set up and decorated during one of the theme days, where they were obviously showing off their talents in how they can sculpt bread into different animals and shapes and other objects like guitars and stuff. There's a variety of different foods that are available here, and you also have the option to take your food to a table by the big windows and sit, eat and enjoy the view. Of the Horizon, and having passed through the beach shack, which I will show you later, and there's the Pennant Bar, and this is a really nice space to have a drink and watch over the terraced aft decks, and of course to see Aurora's wake. Now walking back inside, this is the beach house, as I mentioned before. This is an extra tariff restaurant that operates in the evenings. It is a section of the Horizon restaurant that they set up for this use, and it has its own unique menu that is only available in this particular restaurant. And so people can make a reservation here and have a nice meal together with something a little bit different than what's available elsewhere. Sticking with restaurants for the time being, and at the aft end of E-Deck you'll find the Alexandria Restaurant. This is Aurora's set seating restaurant, and it's only open for dinner. In this restaurant, if you're assigned here, you will have the same table companions and the same waiters for the duration of your cruise. The restaurant offers views over the port, starboard and stern parts of the ship thanks to the large windows, and is named after the city of Alexandria in Egypt, which was an important port for P&O during its early stages of the Mediterranean service. The other main restaurant on board is the Medina Restaurant, which is named after one of the P&O ships. This restaurant is accessible by E-Deck, but also from a rarely used staircase on prom deck. The majority of guests will enter this restaurant through E-Deck, however, and you can see here that the restaurant has been refreshed with new carpeting. This is P&O's freedom dining option on board Aurora, and as a result of this, during the opening times you just turn up when you're hungry, and you can either join a table, or if you'd like a table for two or a set number of people on a table with you, you can take a buzzer and it will buzz when it's time for you to come back to the restaurant. Now heading back up to prom deck, and at the aft end of prom deck there is Carmens, which is one of Aurora's two main show lounges. This is the smaller of the two, and it specialises in cabaret shows, comedy acts and smaller production shows. There's comfortable seating, a large stage, and it looks as if that the lighting and sound has been refreshed during the refit. Otherwise, the colour scheme here remains pretty much as it was before the refurbishment. It's just that everything is nice and tidy, and you can see that the ship's clearly been given some love and care during that refit process. The room presents really nicely, and it has good sight lines as well as good sound and lighting. Staying at the aft end of the vessel and on D-deck you'll find the Terrace Bar, and this is located next to the Terrace Pool, which is an area of open deck space near Aurora's terraced aft decks, and this is of course one of her nicest design features. This area has been refreshed during the refit, and just inside from the Terrace Pool are the new cabins that utilised the space that was once the children's facilities on board. You wouldn't even know from walking down the corridors that this was newly added onto the ship. It's been blended in so nicely with the area around it that it really does look like it's been there forever. Another area where you can have meals and also drinks in Aurora is the Glass House, and this area, a very popular part of the ship, it's been fully refreshed during the refit. It's been enhanced with the addition of new carpeting, updated upholstery and some slight tweaks to the design inside, although the general layout of the space remains relatively intact. It also still has its original light fittings, which you can see here, and of course the big column down the centre. It's a central space, it's a very popular space, and it is recommended to make a reservation if you'd like to have a meal here. The staircase from the Glass House leads down into Champions, which is the ship's bar. It's also where you can watch sporting events, and it leads on to the casino. And so this central part of the ship kind of connects through this spiral staircase. Now, with Champions being the ship's sports bar, it is decorated in sporting memorabilia, and so you can see cricket memorabilia, rowing oars and other sporting items throughout the space. It also leads seamlessly into the ship's relatively small casino. The ship also has another late night entertainment venue called Masquerade, and this space has been refurbished quite nicely during the refit and has benefited greatly from an update in its chair design. It also has a dance floor and a bar. Heading back amidships, and there's a variety of different places where you can shop and have a drink on board Aurora, all accessible off that central atrium staircase. Mayfair is the largest of the shops, and it's here that you can find access to our book, Aurora, A Photographic Journey, and just outside this area they set up a table for me to sign copies after my lectures. The nearby Charlie's is one of the ship's bars, and it has a grand piano which is often played during the day and in the evening by a professional pianist. It has lovely windows there that look out over prom deck. This area is located just off the Mayfair shops, and so during sea days is sometimes used as an area for the shops to spill out onto. Just off Charlie's you'll find the entrance to Anderson's, which is another one of Aurora's bars. It's named after Arthur Anderson, who founded the P&O line, and you can see a picture of him here in this space. The area is very traditional in terms of its appearance. It has been refreshed during the refit, and it has a variety of different seating options as well as stools at the bar there, so you can sit up at the bar. This place also becomes quite popular in the evenings, and so it can get quite crowded at times, but there's plenty of seating, and so if you get there early you shouldn't have a problem finding a seat. Now we have the stairs that lead up between the lower and the upper level of the shops. This is sort of an extension of the main staircase that leads down around that atrium. It's off here that you'll find Explorers, which is the ship's shore tour office, and also on the reception level you'll find access to the P&O Peninsula Club. The shops are named Mayfair, Piccadilly and Emporium, and they all offer different types of gifts and purchases that you can make. Piccadilly is the more higher end shop, Mayfair is your general gifts and clothing, and Emporium is some duty-free items. And you can see that the shops there are sort of accessible from a variety of different areas in that central atrium zone. The whole lot looks out over the main atrium and the waterfall feature, and so it gives a very great sense of space and openness in the centre of Aurora. And no voyage on board Aurora would be complete without checking out the Curzon Theater, which is the ship's main show lounge. This is a large show lounge with excellent sight lines. It's used in the evenings for the evening entertainment and also for the lecture program, and it's here where I gave my lectures on board, including a photographic history of the Orient Line. All too soon, the ship was in Barcelona and my time on board as guest lecturer had come to an end, and so we had to leave the ship and fly back to Australia. I flew on Cathay Pacific on the Airbus A350, so check that out in the video that I've tagged right now. When we were in Barcelona, we actually shared the port with a number of big ships, including the Oasis of the Seas and the Norwegian Epic. And so I leave you with some footage of those ships as we make our way by taxi to Barcelona Airport. I really hope that you've enjoyed this tour of Aurora and enjoyed checking out some of the changes that happened on board her after her 2019 refit. Let me know what you think of the changes in the comments below. If you liked the video, please don't forget to give it a like, and it would be great if you could share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more of my aviation and shipping content. It's an absolute joy to be able to share these trips with you, and I hope you've enjoyed them. So until next time, thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you on board.